within the lumen. Next, please, of the vessel. Now, the alternative technologies I've discussed is the cryoplasty, especially which is useful over the knee joint and over the hip joint where there are flexing surfaces, and a Rotarex atherectomy or a Silverhawk atherectomy where the need of stent is obviated. Next, please. Now, coming on to the use of drug-eluting balloons, the newer trials have shown that drug-eluting balloons actually have a much higher primary patency rate and do better than the non-drug-eluting balloons, and also the drug-eluting stents do better than the non-drug-eluting self-expanding stents. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Next, I've already discussed about this. Next, please. For the popliteal artery, we have, if we need to stent, we have very dedicated stents, which are like a single wire stent, and these stents do not compress and do not deform during extreme flexions, and they are being used in many cases with very good results. Next, please. And if we have a popliteal aneurysm, next, please, we can treat these lesions with covered stents like, next, please, by stent grafts from Gore, which are wire-band, and these do very well over long-term follow-up. Next, please. So in conclusion, femoropopliteal arteries are the most common sites of atherosclerotic lesions. PTA is normally recommended as the primary treatment for short stenosis. Long occlusions are still mainly considered for vascular surgery. Newer technologies and devices have been developed to improve acute and long-term results of angioplasty. And in future, endovascular therapy can be considered even for TAS C and D lesions. Next, please. This is our experience of 898 patients. We have done above inguinal, 236 patients above inguinal ligament, 662 below inguinal ligament. And our primary patency, we have done at 78% and a secondary patency of 92%, and which as you see, is the maximum in the iliac lesions and is the lowest in the femoral and the popliteal and below knee vessels. Next, please. Now, coming on to the below knee interventions, they usually present with critical limb ischemia, especially ulceration, non-healing ulcer, and impending gangrene. Next, please. The way to go is same, the contralateral approach or an antegrade femoral approach, and many a times we also do a pedal puncture and actually get the wires from both sides subintimally, and then do either a rendezvous technique or a kissing technique to get into the true lumen from either sides. Next, please. Next. We can have a dual access from an antegrade side, from the femoral or contralateral femoral, and retrograde from either proximal axis is from a pedal artery or a posterior tibial artery. Next. And we can use a safari technique, which we normally use to almost recanalize all the vessels of the lower limb. Next, please. The procedure is similar to how we do it in the hardwares are similar to coronary techniques. The only thing where we use either a safari technique or a rendezvous or a kissing balloon technique. Next, please. We always treat the proximal lesions first because it helps us in manipulating the catheters and also reducing the thrombus, the occurrence of thrombus while we are doing these procedures. Next, please. Various studies show that there is more than 90% success rate in doing below knee interventions as of now. Next, please. These are some of our results where we have good trifurcation angioplasties. Next, please. We have a combined rotablation in popliteal trifurcation and treated diffuse lesions. Next, please. And we get very good results even on long-term follow-up. Next, please. The limb salvage rate in most of the studies is about 77 to 89%, and the primary patency rates vary from 53% to 81%. Next, please. I'm not going to discuss about the newer technologies like laser. Next. Next, atherectomies, cutting balloons, drug-eluting balloons, bioabsorbable stents, and drug-eluting balloons. Next, please. What I'm going to discuss is a new concept of stem cell therapy, where we take the autologous bone marrow, next, and then take out concentrate the stem cells, and then inject along the gastrocnemius muscle and also in the muscles of the forearm and arm. And we can treat lesions like this. Next, please. And we see that the tissue TCPO2 actually increases over 8 to 12 weeks, and there is a good healing of these wounds. Next, please. This is my personal experience about 202 patients of below knee angioplasty with a procedural success of 186, primary patency of 62%, secondary patency of 80%, limb salvage of 56%, ulcer healing in 88%, adjuvant surgery in 11%, and stem cell therapy in 19 patients. Next, please. This is an algorithm of ACC AHA guidelines, which I'm going to skip. This is what I precisely told you as a background. Next, please. Next, please. Next. So this is how we treat arterial disease. On the venous side, I just want to tell you that a lot of varicose veins do not require treatment by surgery now, and they are treated by a good endovenous laser therapy. Next, please. I'm not going to go through the procedure. Next. Next, please. This is the pre and post results which we get, and it's a daycare procedure. Next, please. Next. This is our personal experience of about 9,000 patients, where we have a the vein occlusion rate at 2 years of as high as 96%. Next, please. So in conclusion, there has been a tremendous advancement in treating lower limb arterial and venous diseases. Most of these patients do very well. The present indications, FDA-approved indications, are task A and B lesions, but task C and D lesions are being tackled more and more now, and even the surgeons are preferring an endovascular approach as compared to an open surgical approach in these patients. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to go through the case which we are going to do. Can you explain the case? Okay. Would you explain the case, or I explain the case? Now this is the case which we have. He's a 46-year-old gentleman. Can you see the monitor, the image on the monitor? Okay, so here he's a 46-year-old male who has a claudication and had a primary PCI to 2 coronary vessels. And on what we see here is a 80% lesion, long lesion in the right common iliac artery, just from the origin down to maybe the bifurcation of the common iliac artery on the right side. We have taken measurements here, and the left common iliac artery has a diameter of 8 millimeter. The right common iliac artery has a diameter of only 4 millimeter. There is an aneurysmal part in the distal part of this right common iliac artery. This is not aneurysmal but ectatic, which measures about 11.2 millimeter. And then the external iliac artery on the right side measures about 6.2 millimeter in diameter. So treating this is not very difficult, but there are some issues here. Because the lesion is right at the bifurcation, either we take 2 stents. The strategy could be take 2 stents and recreate the carina so that you are exactly at the bifurcation or a little above the bifurcation, but one stent is not saddling over the other iliac artery. The other option is that we go ahead and very accurately place the stent in the ostium of the right common iliac artery. And I think with 90% chance we can be safely doing that. And that is what my strategy is. The second issue is that which type of stents we are using. One is a balloon expandable stent, which usually is very, very accurately placed at the ostium. And the second one is that we use a self-expanding stent, which I don't think is also very difficult to place very accurately over the bifurcation, and it doesn't saddle on the opposite iliac artery. So our strategy is that we have put sheaths on both sides, And then after that, what we do is we fasten wire on both sides, a 3-5 wire, and then place a balloon and across the aortic bifurcation from the left side, and very accurately under road map try to open a self-expanding stent and put it at the ostium of the common iliac artery and all the way down. I think that should work because the balloon expandable stents which we have here, we have a 39 millimeter balloon expandable stent, which after foreshortening I think would probably be missing out on the distal part of the common iliac artery. So this is our strategy. If there is any other suggestion from the panel, we would like to hear that and start our procedure. Okay, let's put a balloon on the other side. 8 millimeter balloon on the opposite side.
Sir, do you have any other different views? Any a little bit left LAO view, because it doesn't appear that severe here in this view.
There is, we have done a pullback gradient, and the gradient is high. The patient has a claudication, and the claudication distance is about 200 meters. Which one is the contrast? Can you just?
It would be a view where it would be severe than this one, obviously then.
Yeah, it would be. I'm sure if we profile it, there will be a view where it's more severe. But the gradient is a very accurate way to measure this, and with the clinical symptoms. And I have kept purposely this view because this is a good view to actually stent and accurately place our stent, because we can see the profile, the bifurcation very well. Is the one? This is all on?
Dr. Khanna, do you feel that there is a plaque in the distal aortic
Yes.
bifurcation above the iliac lesion?
There is a small plaque just at the level of the right lumbar artery, but I think that's not a big problem. If you use a self-expanding stent and don't dilate there, we can take care of that plaque. Putting in 2 stents, my only concern is that the aorta that we have measured the diameter, that is only 11.2 millimeter in diameter, and if you put 2 self-expanding stent of at least 9 millimeter, we are putting an 18 millimeter diameter stents into 11 millimeter aorta, so it will have a lot of radial force, and it may actually dissect or create more of a problem in an atherosclerotic aorta like this. Okay, let's take a balloon. Can you zoom this? No, can you zoom this now? I want to have a zoom on this. Okay. Unlock. Unlock. Can you put the previous image on the other side? Huh? No, don't move. Okay. Okay. So this is a zoomed image where we would like to work on this image. And can I have a road map? The best way to work here would be on a road map. Ready? Okay. No, this is not a road map. This is okay, fine. Fine. Okay, give me a balloon. Yes, 840 balloon. And 9 into 60 stent. Get me a stent, please. What is the opinion of the panel? Do you think a self-expanding stent can be put with accuracy here, or it should always be a balloon expandable stent?